Welcome to the HMO Property Podcast, where we connect, educate and inspire the UK's HMO property community. So stop what you're doing, sit back, relax and enjoy the story. What's up, HMO Nation, and welcome to another episode of the HMO Property Podcast with me, Rupert Wallace, in association with HMOHub.co.uk. In this episode, we're interviewing successful HMO property investor, Goar Pedro. Goar's going to take us on her HMO property investment journey, including the ups, the downs, the highs, and the lows. Now, Goar's been investing in HMOs since 2013. She's completed 5 HMO projects, currently houses 20 HMO tenants. So let's jump straight in. Goar, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rupert.
It's great to have you with us. Before we dive into the details of your HMO journey, tell us a bit about yourself, Goar, and tell us about your background until you started that HMO journey.
Sure. So I lived in Southern Africa before I came to UK and Portugal. And I had some property investment experience back in Africa, but not quite a lot. My background was in export and import. I worked in American company for 12 years, full time. In 2013, I decided that I wanted to spend more time with my family and my children. I left my job and I was at a cross section of what was I going to do in future. And I wasn't quite sure. I mean, my first thought was I was going to carry on in export and import industry because that's what I was familiar with. However, something happened that changed that and brought me to property investment.
Okay, so that was back in 2013. How many years did you do import and export?
12 years.
So would you say that was your kind of primary career before you came into property?
Yes. I graduated in business and Russian. So I was always going to be working in a private sector. And this was something that took my interest. I was in a marketing department and I grew into different roles. So yes, this would be something that I was going to do after graduating. And
did you enjoy your time in that industry?
I did initially. It was quite interesting because we traveled a lot. We worked quite a lot with foreign companies. So I used my international background. I enjoyed it until certain points. When the company was restructured, we didn't really have that many people working, and it just became more and more difficult. And I was also missing out quite a lot on my children's day-to-day life as I was coming late from work, and I only had 20 days of holidays per year, which was, you can't really stretch it. By the time I would have my summer holidays, that would be pretty much, I was out of days. So I've missed a lot of their school life, trips, just generally growing up.
So how did you get into the world of HMO property investing?
Accidentally, actually. One of my friends, she's a property investor, and just for fun, she said, let's go to this property event meeting, and I went with her. Lucky for me, the main speaker was Jim Halliburton, also known as a HMO daddy. You know how enthusiastic he can be. So he talked about HMOs with such passion, clarity, that after 1 hour, I knew I was going to do this. bear in mind, I didn't have any training. I didn't have any prior knowledge about HMOs at all. But in that one, after that 1 hour, I was decided this what I was going to do. I came home and remember telling my husband, and he wasn't very impressed because we live in a small town. We don't have students, and you know how many people associate HMOs with student accommodation.
Absolutely.
Especially back in 2013, HMO was equal to student accommodation. So when I said to him, I would like to do HMOs, he was like, we don't have students in this town. Why would you do that? But I knew that it wasn't just for students, and I was going to primarily aim to working market, working people. So that's my aim.
A real light bulb moment.
That's right. Yes.
A good accident.
Exactly that. Yeah.
Okay, so tell us what happened next.
So the following day, I logged into Rightmove and I identified 3 properties because we've been told by Jim that the ideal properties are 3-bedroom with 2 reception rooms downstairs. So I identified 3 of those properties, went viewing, put an offer on 2 of them. And a few days later, I was on a school bus going to a school trip with my son. Very noisy morning. And I got a call from the agent saying, oh, they've agreed to your offer. You've got it. Congratulations. That's when I got a fright, because then it suddenly became very real that I was going into something I had no idea about. Mm-hmm. All I had was a vision. It was a drive and an instinct that it was going to work. So the property was on the market for £91,000. I put an offer for £84,000. Good old days in 2013. It was definitely a buyer's market, so I was lucky to start in that time of the buyer's market, I would say. I had 3 days to break the news to my husband because I was staying away. So the next 2 months, it was just pretty much organizing the paperwork, going for mortgage, providing all the information to the bank, putting together the deposit. Then in November, I got the keys. And I went and I did the project management myself. Got quite a lot of information from council website, and I also liaised with council office, asking them and learning a lot about regulations and room sizes, fire doors, fire alarms, everything that I needed to put this project together. So there was quite a lot of information out there. And I was also lucky because I do have friends who were in property investment business. So I could ask a question if I needed to. So at this point, I had no formal education on property investment or HMOs.
Got it. So Goar, tell us, you bought it for 84. What did you spend on it in the refurb, and what was it worth at the end, and what did it cash flow?
Okay, so I spent £17,000. The house needed absolutely everything: rewiring, plumbing, bathrooms, kitchen. So £17,000 I spent on this property. It took me 2 months to put it all together, in 2 months' time the property was ready to go on the market. Unfortunately, here that I must emphasize how poorly I was educated in terms of property investment. I didn't think of revaluing the property. So okay. I sat on it for years before I did it. So I wasn't quite sure how much it would in the end be valued at. I just kept it for a couple of years before I knew I could do this. I could pull the money out. Mm, so I rented the turnover for the property was £20,000, and I was making around £900 profit per month on it. So it's
Fantastic.
very, very good cash flow. The next couple of years, I recreated this model, and I've done another 3 HMOs.
Great. We will come on to that, Goar. Let me ask you one more question. Was there anything holding you back to get into HMO property?
Initially,
Yeah.
yes. Quite a lot of negativity, I would say. It's quite difficult and expensive type of business to go into. I mean, the cost of the houses are high. There is a lot of insecurity goes around it. So my family was quite nervous about me investing into properties. So I would say that was one of the biggest challenges that I had. And also raising that initial deposit of 25% deposits. That was a bit of a challenge. But apart from that, I would say everything else I was pretty determined.
Nothing holding you back once you got going, I'm guessing.
That's right.
Good. Next up, if you can tell us, Goar, how investing in HMOs has changed your life.
So I could be a stay-at-home mum and be with my children every day, pick them up from school, drop them off at school, organize parties, and still have income coming. So that was an ideal situation where I didn't feel like I needed to ask my husband for a dress or money to go to hairdressers. I still supported myself, and I helped towards the household and family holidays. So we didn't suffer financially from me being at home. I kept our family going and contributing, but still having a privilege of being at home.
Fantastic. Goar, what's your favourite part of HMO property investing?
Most probably refurbishing and dressing it up. Saying that, I equally enjoy finding a good deal. I think that's really exciting. When you see photographs on Rightmove and you imagine it to be a big house and you go and it's tiny, or the other way around. Like, for example, the first property I bought was advertised as 3-bedroom. But then when I went to view it, it turned out to be 4-bedroom. They just wrongly advertised it. So I just find it quite interesting to find a good deal. This recent property I bought, it's massive. Again, on a Rightmove, you wouldn't see that. So it's quite exciting to find a good deal and envision as how it's going to look as an end result after dressing it up.
Got it. So finding deals and creating, I'm guessing, is the word.
Yes, and of course the cash flow.
Brilliant. Goar, now we've talked about the past. Before we move on to your present and your future plans in HMO property, let's take a minute to thank our sponsors.
Are you looking for an effortless HMO mortgage experience? If that's a yes, there's only one place to go. www.thehmomortgagebroker.co.uk, the UK's #1 specialist HMO mortgage broker. They're so specialised that they don't do anything else. HMO mortgages, HMO remortgages and HMO bridging. That's it. They have access to every HMO lender out there and even some exclusive products not available to other brokers. With lightning fast service and A1 communication, they're easily the best HMO broker in town. So to experience HMO lending made easy, go to www.thehmomortgagebroker.co.uk today.
Goar, fast forwarding to the present day, tell us about your current portfolio in a bit more detail.
So I do have at the moment 5 HMOs. The fifth one I'm currently working and refurbishing. I do have a block of apartments, which I'm using for serviced accommodation. And I also have 2 single lets, one of them being in Portugal. I did my first HMOs, my first 4 HMOs, quite quickly, within 2 or 3 years. And then I moved on into different strategies just to make sure I understand quite a lot, variety of them, before understanding which one is my favorite. So after I've done 3 different strategies, I know I can honestly say my favorite strategy is an HMO.
Okay.
It's quite hands off once you've completed it. And there is more control to it as well in terms of management. There is not a fear of, if one tenant leaves, you still got some income coming. And also, if there is a problem, it's easily identifiable because the checks and because other tenants also might pick up on it quite quickly. And also it's quite, the cash flow of it, like I mentioned, is really good in comparison to single lets.
Perfect. Okay, so your HMOs, are they professional HMOs? Are they social? They're obviously not student.
No.
Okay.
Professional. Yes, they are professional HMOs. So I've got a lot of Eastern European tenants. I also got young professional English tenants. So it's variety. Depends on a season. Sometimes in summer we'll have more Eastern Europeans. They do come to work. I also have Western European who come to work at schools, and sometimes just different projects like architects and doctors.
Okay, brilliant. Goar, tell us about your single best HMO investment to date.
So I would have to say it's my first one. Like I mentioned, I bought it as a 3-bedroom, but it turned out 4 bedrooms. So after I've refurbed it, it was a 5-bedroom HMO. So I really got quite good price, paying 84,000 for £20,000 turnover per year. So definitely is financially, from financial point of view, I would say that's my best one. But then I could say equally, I like some other ones because of the location, or like my last one, it's quite big and the location is quite good as well. So it just depends the criteria of a measurement, really.
Okay, well, the criteria is up to you. It can be financial, it can be non-financial. It could be the one that makes you smile the best. It could be the one that gives you
That's
the
right.
most money. So I'm happy for you to choose.
Yeah. So financially, my first one is the best because I bought it a good time, and in 2013 the prices were really, really low. Then I've got another one that the tenants keep it really clean. So every time I go there, it's really nice and clean. So from that perspective, that's my favorite. But then I've got another one that's very well refurbished. It's quite modern. So I know whenever I have a viewing, that's the first one to go. People just love it. I've never had a viewing that was turned down because it's so nice and modern, and a lot of sunshine comes through. And then I've got another one that's location. People love the location of it. It's town centre. It's quiet road. So yeah, each one got its own merit.
Okay. Goar, next up, tell us about one significant mistake that you've made in your HMO business that by sharing you might help others avoid.
So definitely not knowing that I could refinance my first HMO after 6 months. That was the biggest mistake. If I had refinanced it, I could have maybe have double of the properties I have now. I waited for 2 years until I refinanced that property, and I did exactly the same with the other 3. So in total, I waited for about 5 years to refinance my property, my 4 properties, to pull money for the next project. I had a mentality of just pay it off, have some assets, have the capital, save it for old age. I was quite happy with the turnover, and I was quite happy with the cash flow I was making, with the profit I was making. So I didn't know that I could double it, and I also didn't know that. I was financially ignorant. Let's put it this way. So I think reading and speaking to like-minded people, doing some property training really does help to broaden your horizon and look at it, not just from, I acquire the regulations, or yes, I'm running my business properly, but it's also how can I maximize it? What can I do to improve it or double it?
Leads me on to my next question. What are your portfolio plans, your HMO portfolio plans for the next 12 months, Goar?
So I would like to double up my portfolio, and now that I know better, I can pull the money out from my existing properties. I know how to do it as well, which is very important. I can concentrate on the areas that needs to be improved for it to be valued higher. I also learned not to wait for the property prices to go down. They never do. When I bought my first properties, I waited for a few years and waiting for them to drop, to crash, for me to go back buy for the same price. And that was a mistake. I would say I would really recommend moving with the same pace as the market is moving. Don't wait for it to go back. Just keep on with the pace.
Okay. And apart from building the portfolio, is there anything else you're up to in property that you'd like to share with HMO Nation?
Yes, so I do have serviced accommodation that I'm running, and like I said, single lets. It's still property related, so it's a bit sad, but I think everything that I enjoy is property related. So most probably another property I would buy, it would be in a hot country, and I would most probably do another service accommodation and still be able to enjoy the property for myself the remaining months. I love decorating, I love refurbishing, and maybe I would do it for other people.
Okay. Goar, what advice would you give to any current HMO investors? That's people who are already in the market.
Don't be put off by changing regulations. A lot is being thrown at HMO investors in terms of regulations. And I would say those are there to protect the tenants, to guide us, and they are not as scary, and just don't be put off by it. Carry on investing and invest wisely. Pretty much it.
And how about any advice you'd give to people who are looking to get into HMO property investing for the very first time?
I would say you can make quite good cash flow with HMOs, whether you're buying it or taking it on rent-to-rent basis. So there are different options. Also, don't be put off by prices wherever you are. If you're in London, North has cheaper prices on houses, and there is also rent-to-rent strategies that can just equally make just as much cash flow. So do your diligence on the location, do your diligence on numbers, and network, read a lot, invest in your education, and you will make money.
Good. Love it. Thanks, Goar. Finally, before we sign off, we'd like you to recommend one great HMO resource or book. Then let HMO Nation know how they can get in touch with you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Okay, so I do have a book here. It's Wendy Whitaker. I met Wendy at Progressive Property. Mm-hmm. She's got this book which is called Extraordinary Profits from Ordinary Properties. And she mainly speaks about HMOs. She also has a training course. I think she runs it for Progressive Properties. I haven't personally attended a course because I was already doing HMOs and I had quite a lot of information, but the book is very useful.
Okay. And how about if HMO Nation want to get in touch with you? How can they do that?
So I'm on Facebook. My name is Goar Pedro. I also have email address, which is algorahomes@gmail.com. And those are two sources that I check regularly.
Fantastic. Goar, thank you for sharing your journey. We salute you. Let's get an HMO high five.
Thank you, Rupert, for having me.
We'll see you soon, Goar. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you've enjoyed this and want more informational, educational and inspirational HMO property content, then please hit the subscribe button and give us a like. See you next time.